Now I'm free from the words that I left behind.
So, what brings you to DevOps talks? A, food. B, I've got networking drinks. I'm a big fan of desserts. I would go with option C. I know some of my colleagues would probably go with E as well. So, yeah, let me put it in a different way. What makes your employees or business to sponsor for DevOps talks? The answer is simple. DevOps can accelerate revenue. And according to the reports from DORA, DevOps can accelerate business revenue by 4 times. And like the business leaders knows the importance of DevOps. That's why we're all here for the last couple of days, gathering and networking as well. So the purpose of whole DevOps is to provide those continuous releases and get things speed up into the market, right? Get the features up into your customers' hands as soon as possible, and deliver that frequent value to your end customers as well with new features or new functionalities in the app. So what you're seeing here is one such flow, right? A DevOps flow. You've got customer requests coming in on the left side, and you have got a series of steps which the product or the value is generated. The value gets initialized in the first stage, and it goes through a series of steps, which is a software factory. That's where the value is getting generated. The actual value is delivered to the customer's hands only towards the end when the customer has got the app in their hands and when they are actually using it live. Usually, this series of steps is supposed to be really fast. That's the intent of every company, right? But unfortunately, it's not the case. You've got so many wastage in the process itself, which needs to be cleared up as well. How can we actually get rid of those waste in the whole delivery process? And how do we optimize this software delivery cycle? According to Charles Darwin, this is a famous quote. One who would waste an hour in life does not understand the value of life. Similar thing applies to DevSecOps as well, according to me. Like if you ask me, if you've got wastage in your software delivery, you won't be able to realize the value of the whole DevSecOps or the entire software as well in sometimes. So the purpose of this talk is actually to talk about how we can help you in accelerating the delivery, and how do we cut down the waste in the whole cycle, and how we can streamline the entire process. My name is Ram. I'm a Chief Technologist for Micro Focus Pre-Sales. I'm going to talk about 3 key things today. Why value stream management is important on top of DevOps or DevSecOps. How do we actually elevate DevSecOps with value stream management and optimize this whole software delivery? And I've got my colleague to talk about how do we shift left security and identify vulnerabilities very early as well. So talking about like DevOps, as customers scale into DevOps or DevSecOps, right? Like they get into other challenges. Business have some problem connecting. Like these are common challenges, right? Trouble connecting the IT value to the business value. And you could see from reports from Gartner, almost 63% of CIOs have been unsuccessful in demonstrating the IT value to the business. When the board of directors who are actually sponsoring the budgets, right, for IT, they are looking for some solid answers to all those questions like, what is IT adding, how is IT adding value to those new initiatives what we are launching? Are we getting the best return on investment on the expenditures what we are doing on IT? We have got 2 or 3 initiatives, but amongst these, which one will yield the maximum value as well? These are the questions what board would like to actually get straightforward answers. Unfortunately, the CIOs have been getting answers, but the data points, what they have been providing to the board, or the tools what the data points is providing to the CIOs is more technical today. It is actually providing data around the effort spent around by resources, the time spent in doing things, rather than actually the outcomes being achieved. That's been the key challenge in connecting the IT value to the business value as well. And how often have we seen these sort of siloed tools? Have you got like more than one test automation tool here? Few hands. Have you got probably few DevOps tools as well, like Jenkins or some CI/CD pipelines, more than one? I'm sure like you will have a lot of these different tools in the whole landscape. How do we actually get data out of this? How do we tie this up together as well? Do we have ways to provide some visibility and traceability across these tools? That's the biggest challenge for our customers as well. Now the big elephant in the room is, why value stream management? What does it do? We spoke about some of these challenges. I talked about connecting IT value to the business value. And I talked about misalignment to the business goals as well. Sometimes you don't know, like, you've got 1,000 different ideas in the business. Which one should I execute first? Which ones will yield the maximum value? You don't have those alignment to the business goals as well. And I did mention about the lack of visibility with multiple tools and the wait time in the whole software delivery process itself. And in addition, you need to sometimes balance the speed with, like, how do you balance the whole speed with quality or security in the DevSecOps pipeline itself? These are the common challenges what our customers are facing today. And right, exactly, like, value stream management is aimed at addressing all these challenges as well. This is one of the key takeaways from this presentation, like, why value stream management? These are the challenges it can address, basically. Like, everything in life doesn't go as planned or expected. Same thing applies to the software as well, right? Like, you don't have, like, for example, when you're starting a new project, it might look easy. Everything looks green. You're okay to achieve those targets easily and comfortably. But in the mid of the project, you would see some challenges, like things like environments provision slowly, you have testing delays, lack of automation or lack of resources, whatnot. So many challenges come in, by the way, which introduces those delays and constraints to every project. That's where you get all these red dots. The ones which was green earlier looks red now. You have challenges in terms of constraints and resources as well. How do you fix those challenges and risk or constraints? The approach here is, like, there has to be a new approach in the industry. The new approach, what is suggested here today, is value stream management. It's not just us who is talking about value stream management. The Gartners, the Forresters, all the research agencies have been talking about value stream management approach on top of DevOps. About 60% of the organizations will move into this sort of platform in the next couple of years. That's a prediction as well. And we are seeing good traction amongst these things of late. So taking a step back, what is value stream management? For those of you who haven't been familiar with value stream management, let me talk about what is value stream first. Value stream is something which, like, if you're making something, you've got series of steps. The whole series of steps is called as value stream. That's the Wikipedia definition. You got a process, you have got a sequence of steps. How do you do that? The whole thing is called as value stream. If I'm looking to make a good coffee, I would probably go for creating a shopping list, then probably obtain a coffee beans, like grind the powder, brew the coffee. In the end, I would actually taste the coffee, right? That's where I'm getting the value out of all the work I'm doing. This is value stream for coffee making. Similar to this, you have value stream for IT as well. In the software industry, you're developing a software. It goes through a series of steps. This is value stream for software. And value stream management is one level above this. It is about managing this flow of steps. You have got sequence of steps. How do you manage this? How do you track and analyze how each step is progressing? Can we actually provide some improvements in each of these steps? Those sort of analysis on top of the whole series of steps and providing that governance is value stream management. I said it is a new approach, but it's not completely new. I'm not sure, like, how many of you have done some manual value stream mapping exercise in the past. Anyone has done? Probably a handful. Absolutely. With your experience, like, you would have done manual value stream mapping as well, right? Example, like, you've got a process flow, you need to fix things, you go into the whiteboard or take a piece of paper and pen, draw the process out, and then identify, like, where is the bottleneck, how do we improve things, how do we streamline things. This works well if you've got a single process in place. In today's world, you have got 20 different tools in your DevOps landscape. Often you do not know whom we talk to, which person in the organization has got which tool as well, but you still need data from them as well. It is not possible to actually do this in a manual way at all. It is not at all scalable. How about having a platform to do this? If you have got a platform which can actually talk to different tools, get the data out from different systems, and provide you nice insights around what is happening in your value stream, that's exactly what we are aiming at as well with value stream management platform. And This is what I mean with value stream management as an automated platform sitting in the center. It can talk to the likes of Jira, the ServiceNow, or the likes of Jenkins, or even I had just now CloudBees presented. It can talk to any of these products, right? And the testing tools, Micro Focus, non-Micro Focus, open source, security testing, integrate with all the points and get the data back and consolidate the data into a centralized data lake, and which is machine learning enabled as well. You've got AI and machine learning enabled on this data lake, which can get the insights, powerful insights for your value stream or the DevOps world, which is what is missing, which is what the CIOs are lacking today. And once you start applying value stream, once it is in action, the whole data comes in, you're able to actually visualize things. You start getting these metrics right away. You start getting things like cycle time, lead time, the whole throughput, and the whole code quality as well as the whole flow efficiency. All these things are getting generated for you right away out of the box because of the integration the tool has got from different components as well. And that's it. Like, you've got the whole value stream management action, and then your pipeline is going to be much more efficient. You can now start looking at, like, once you've got value stream in place, you might be in a better place, like with business value dashboards. You might be having things like, you might be able to prioritize your business ideas faster. You might have things like, how do we cut down some of the waste? It tells you suggestions as well. It tells you the wasted effort or wasted time in your whole development and whatnot, the whole life cycle itself. That's the power of the whole value stream management in terms of getting those insights as well. This is our platform, Value Edge. Like, I know the font is not great, but again, what you could see here is it has got modules around all the capability, right from strategy to delivery. It is completely modular. You don't have to actually look at using the entire thing. If you've got certain modules already covered by vendors like Jira, Jenkins, and ServiceNow, all those things can be completely, it's open and integratable. You can pick and choose whatever you need and start moving and building your value stream management exercise as well. I'm going to show you a DevSecOps model office, what we have got in Micro Focus. It tells you an idea how we run with some of our enterprise customers as well today. For example, it starts with business owners defining the initiatives. That's where the whole portfolio management comes in. Business owners comes in and say, like, I would like to define these initiatives. This is where the whole program is defined. The ideas are generated as well. And after approvals, it gets into the actual project. And this is where the agile project gets executed as well. The backlogs, the team backlogs comes into play. And once the project is executable, then you have developers coming in, developing things from agile methodologies, and you've got the build tools like Jenkins on top of it. You can we could build the source like nightly builds or configurable times, and you've got the whole link with the source code repository as well. If you've got linkage with your security testing, you can do your code scans with security testing tools, which Michael will talk about in a few minutes. Then you can do the smoke testing and regression testing and run this pipeline continuously, right? And the whole deployment can be automated as well. And the whole thing, whenever it's executing things, it's bringing back the data back into the value management systems. That's how we are able to launch these things remotely, but again, gather data back with insights as well. I'm going to show you this video quickly, which gives you some idea about the insights, what we could get. You could see things like waste, the amount of waste, what you have got accumulated, the flow time metrics and features. This is just a sample dashboard, right? It can be completely configurable as well, the whole epics and features, the amount of time wasted in all those things. And then you get into the quality side of thing. With quality, how is the overall quality looking? The ones in the red suggest that these modules are performing or not meeting the SLAs, and the whole defect cycle as well. Then you see the risky commits by the code developers and the whole sort of automation test and the open defects. Then you can adjust things around the release management side of things as well. And you have the whole cross-release and trends for comparing these things with different projects and reports as well. So with that, let me actually get Michael onto the stage. He's got plenty of security experience. He's going to talk about how do we balance speed with security. As I spoke about, like the need for speed with quality and security, that is the whole idea of DevSecOps. And I like this famous, the usual stuff around the pit stops in car racing, right? And the usual idea of pit stops is making sure that the quality is never compromised, even when you go at the high speed. That's a whole concept in DevSecOps as well. How do we maintain the speed with quality and security? Over to you, Michael.
All right. Well, thanks, Ram. Anyways, my name is Mike Snowden. Hope everyone's doing pretty good today. I am the AppSec guy from CyberRes Microfocus. So I guess what I want to talk a little bit to you guys about today is, how it is that you can, integrate security into your DevOps practices. So right now, the industry is doing two things right now. They're either trying to do something called shift left, or they're trying to create a new type of process that that's being broadly defined or described as something called DevSecOps. So I'll start this off by just trying to explain, what is DevSecOps? And I guess maybe by just a quick show of hands, how many people here at one point in their lives have tried to Google up what is DevOps? Just a quick show of hands here, very quick. And same people here, how many of you guys saw a similar diagram like this from your Google search? You guys all, yeah, it's yeah, this is what you get from Google here. So basically, with something like this is a high-level way of just trying to just say that, hey, we try to automate our build processes as much as possible. Now, the issue here is that while automation is cool, what we really also want to integrate into here is some kind of security checks for our applications that we're developing. So if you Google, you will also find this type of diagram right here, which tries to describe, what a DevSecOps process might look like. And what this tries to, get across to most people here is that at certain key points in your DevOps process, you'll have some kind of security check going on. Now, why is it that you should be caring about this? Why does this really matter here? So for most businesses now these days, and when I say most, I mean pretty much every single one out there, they're developing more applications. It's not like the way it was back in the day where you had like these waterfall style software development methodologies where you are slowly developing like this one crown jewel application after another. And right now, the modern, application development lifecycle and, situation for most organizations is that, they're developing a lot of other smaller applications really, really quickly. And as you are, accumulating more applications in your portfolio, you're not only increasing the number of release cycles that you have, but you're also increasing the number of security vulnerabilities that are actually being introduced into your overall software portfolio. I mean, this ends up resulting that, according to some of the information that we've collected here, over, 70, 80, and 61% of, web applications, mobile apps, and other types of applications have some kind of critical security vulnerability inside of them. And this has kind of resulted in, organizations getting hit over the head and quite heavily, as a matter of fact, with some major financial losses. So everything from having to pay some kind of fine or fee to the government for not being in compliance with certain regulations related to proper security controls over their infrastructure, or just not having good security practices, or worse yet, being the victim of some kind of ransomware attack of some kind. And just by a quick show of hand here, like who remembers just not so long ago, just a few months ago, a little issue called Log4j? Like, again, this is not a rhetorical question here. I'm actually asking you guys to raise your hands if you heard something like that. Yeah, like 90% of the people here have heard of Log4j. That's a software security supply chain issue, and that's another one of the aspects of DevSecOps that that we're trying to take care of here. So the reason why it is that this is still an issue today is because security is not an activity that makes an organization money. It doesn't add any new, useful, cool features to your application, and quite oftentimes it doesn't increase the the performance or the usability of your app. Security is often viewed, and rightfully so, as a cost associated with trying to run your business. It's almost like a form of insurance, if you will, to try and lower and mitigate the amount of risk that the organization has. So this way they don't have to pay out as much money as they would need to. By trying to implement some kind of application security or DevSecOps strategy, we're hoping here in theory, that will be able to reduce our security expenses. We'll also be able to help get our organization in line with any kind of policies, regulations, or some kind of compliance. And hopefully, again, just by having good security hygiene and practices, we'll be able to get ahead of the curve, or stay on the curve for whatever the latest security trends are, which again should feed back into itself of reducing security expenses, mitigating risk, and all of that other good stuff. So, what are some of the challenges here that we're going to be trying to address with DevSecOps and application security in general? Usually, I use this slide right here to just give off a few quick bullet points of some of the things that most organizations don't think about when they're trying to figure out why it is that they need a DevSecOps strategy or application security. More often than none, your software engineers, your developers, they're not security gurus. All right, these are engineers. They're highly skilled at being able to create new features, new functionality, or increase the performance of your applications. But they're not necessarily security people. They don't have in-depth, security knowledge in terms of, hey, I've got this web application over here. I'm putting in this new form field, and if I implement security validations here, if I'm doing any kind of sophisticated checks, it just kind of bogs the application down, and it just ends up resulting in a very cruddy user experience. So that little example I gave is just that's a very Mickey Mouse-like example of what type of mentality that developers will have when thinking about security, and that's just kind of the way it is. So we're also trying to look into making sure that we're providing adequate training and education and a support system for developers. This way, security is something that is at the forefront of their minds rather than the back of their minds. And by setting up a DevSecOps strategy, you'll be able to make sure that the tools, frameworks, and systems that you set up in place are able to grow with your organization as you are developing more applications, as you're adding more things to your software portfolio. What really happens inside of a DevSecOps process? Like, what are the things that you are going to be thinking of, what that you're going to be trying to be considerate of and trying to build out and plan for when trying to build out such a process? So this is going to be I'm not going to say a long, arduous process, but it is a process. It's not going to be a product that you purchase and it's going to be an out-of-box solution that, gives you the seal of approval that, everything is going to be hunky-dory and everything is secure. This is going to be a process that you're going to have to set up within your organization, and it's going to be one that's going to be ongoing. It's not going to be something where there's ever going to be a true end state. So you'll first have to think about how it is you'll be affecting your people within your organization, and what type of processes and how it's going to affect your software development lifecycle. And you'll also think about what types of technologies, what types of testing tools that you want to integrate into your processes. And as you're preparing, you'll be thinking about what your scope of work is going to be, and how you're going to find that right balance of security versus features and functionality, and actually being able to get other types of work done. And probably the most important one is how much money that you're going to be willing to spend on these types of efforts. When I'm saying how much money a business is willing to spend, I'm not talking about just in terms of licensing costs. I'm talking about your internal costs as well. How much time, effort, are you willing to spend in terms of trying to get your developers and your DevOps people upskilled and trained to be more fluent and more comfortable with application security, those types of things. So, what are some types of application security testing that you can do? This is not the definitive list. This is just meant to give you a small taste, because no doubt after this talk you'll be going out and trying to Google what types of security testing that you can do for your applications. So regardless if you are wanting a solution that is on premise, or something that is maybe like a cloud-based solution, a SaaS-based solution, you'll probably want to look into things like maybe static analysis, SAST, dynamic analysis, DAST, or open source security. Sometimes this is referred to as a software composition analysis or open source analysis. It's basically the same thing here. And as far as where this all fits into your new DevSecOps lifecycle here, generally speaking, if you're trying to shift left, things like software composition analysis or static analysis fit very well into a developer's toolbox. So as a developer is going through and they are developing and they are adding new features and functionality, you can do static analysis or software composition analysis to analyze your third-party libraries. If you have DevOps people, maybe QA people, or just pure security engineers, and they're really more so worried about what goes on in a QA, pre-prod, or production environment, then something like dynamic analysis is probably better suited for that audience. So I understand I probably just threw 3 types of testing that maybe you're hearing about for the first time in your life. So this is probably the last part of my end of the talk here, but here's my quick 5-second introduction into what maybe static analysis is and dynamic analysis is, just in case you haven't heard about it before. Rather than trying to give you a deep technical explanation, I'll just give you an analogy here. So rather than thinking about this in terms of trying to analyze your application source code or analyze your applications and trying to get into the nitty-gritty on how those types of software testing actually work, my analogy here is that we're going to be using something like static analysis and comparing it to how we're going to be analyzing the plumbing schematic on your pipes. So static analysis is basically like looking at the design documents, looking at the schematics for your plumbing system. Now, just note that when we're performing this type of analysis, static analysis, we're not running or executing any of your code. We're just looking purely at the source code in order to find out what types of security vulnerabilities might be there. And if we find something, then we'll flag it. Dynamic analysis, on the other hand, is a form of black box testing. This is very much like if you were to try and get your plumbing system to see where the water is going. You can introduce some dye or some contrast into your system. So in essence, a DAS tool will provide some data to a target application, and then we have the tool on the other end of the application just to wait and see what comes out of your application as a response. Now, just keep in mind that with dynamic analysis, we're not looking at the inside of your application. We have no awareness of what's going on inside your application from a source code perspective, how the data is flowing around and things like that. We're mostly only looking at the data that goes into your application and the data that comes out. That is mostly it. That's my portion in a nutshell here. But I do want to let you guys know that, hey, you guys can come and talk to us later. Find us at the Micro Focus booth. We actually do have solutions that do play in these areas around static analysis, dynamic analysis, application security testing, mobile application security, and the like. And if for nothing else, you can enter in for a chance to win a free Google Nest speaker. So I guess with that, I will pass it back over to Ram here to finish this off.
Thank you, Michael. Just a few key takeaways. We spoke about a lot. DevOps can accelerate revenue. We spoke about the value stream management. And from value stream management, how you can invoke the security tools as well, the security testing too. Most part of it is like visibility and traceability and prioritizing the business ideas and connecting the dot between the IT and the business, right? We'll be sharing these slides with you as well. And finally, thank you everyone for joining us today. If you've got any questions, feel free to come over to the booth and you've got a chance to win the Google Nest speakers as well. Thank you.